discussion will feature speakers representing key perspectives on Downtown Clayton's growth and redevelopment. The panelists are leaders in their sectors and have contributed to Clayton's downtown journey.
It was an absolute perfect mix of timing, a perfect mix of people, of business, of government leaders, of fundraising, of support from a local paper. It wasn't a perfect or an easy perfect, but it was just the right combo that came together to allow us to be where we are today. And so that's the story we're going to tell you today. The story of those perfect formulas coming together repeatedly in Clayton, revitalizing our downtown, injecting new energy and sparking a momentum that just seems to keep going, luckily. We're not going to tell you it's easy, but we're going to try to tell you how it happened. What are the key ingredients, and introduce you to some of the key players who can make it happen. So let's get on to the first key player. The elected official who champions downtown. We're lucky in Clayton because we have several, but you have to have, and we do, at least one of these. This is the guy who lives downtown, who goes to all the downtown events, who's at every concert, who tweets out when the Clayton Youth Theater is performing right here on this stage, who wouldn't miss the Main Street Conference, the one who is resharing a Facebook post about downtown just seconds after it goes out. He's your influencer. He's getting everyone talking about the good or the bad. He's the one who has tons of social media followers and stays on top of letting people know what's going on. It doesn't hurt that he's been volunteering on town boards and serving on councils for 20 years, or that he's running for commissioner because he wants to represent Clayton at the county level. He is the one who, when he takes his morning walk or his weekend walk around downtown, will see things, and you know you'll see a lot more when you're walking and not driving, and will not hesitate to text the planning director, no matter what time of the night or day it is, because he wants to know about building or what's going on with a problem he noticed, or because he has a great idea about something. He's always talking to business owners, to visitors, and he's engaged. He's Town Councilman Butch Plauder.
Thank you.
You acted confused, Butch. I was going to be talking about somebody else.
Yeah, I was wondering who it was.
Lucky you, huh? Okay. Next, you've got to have that planning director that Butch can text at all hours about those downtown issues. Maybe it's the downtown development director or the planning director, or perhaps it's a person with 7 years in the trenches, leading your planning department, who then, because your town is growing, was recently tapped to start your town's first economic and community development office. Someone who's accessible, not only to elected officials or the public, but to developers and businesses. Someone who's open to new ideas and willing to re-examine the rules to help make an idea happen. This person cannot be held hostage by the code. This person has to be willing to be flexible with the code, asking for council to approve changes to the code, changes that still prioritize smart growth and good planning as priority, but someone who can work through changes to help make that out-of-the-box change possible and a reality. That someone today is Economic and Community Development Director Dave DeYoung. In the on-deck circle, we have to have a volunteer or a business person who is hometown through and through. That guy whose mom ran the downtown daycare and whose dad co-owned the general hardware store on Main Street. The one who graduated from Clayton High School and who joined us with the son of his dad's business partner, and together, this next generation would start a real estate company in downtown. He's the guy who was so involved that, of course, he decided to serve on the town council, who, of course, would be recognized as Citizen of the Year and Mr. Christmas. And of course, he's the one who says he doesn't have time to volunteer any more time, but who you strong arm and convince to be the chair of the Downtown Development Association. He's the one who cherishes the old stories of how Clayton used to be, but, let me emphasize but in large B-U-T, who gets those darn newcomers from up north and natives to work together to keep Clayton the same down-home place it always has been for him. You've got to have a Mr. James Lipscomb. Batting cleanup, it doesn't hurt to have another person who was born and raised, who believes in his hometown through and through, another Clayton High School graduate, another person who is engaged with his community just like his father, a home builder who is creating new neighborhoods and bringing new families to his great hometown, a businessman who lets his heart and his love for his hometown lead his business decisions, who is willing to take chances and, capital and, spend money, because he knows it will make his town and downtown a better place, who is brave enough to take on the old Ford dealership on a busy corner with no parking and decide to roll up his own sleeves, rip up his own jeans to help put the entire building back together, who worked for months and months to give it new life. It's someone who wants to invest in downtown, who wants to sponsor concert series, and someone who offers, without being asked, to increase funding for those concerts to help bring even more popular bands to this great free family events right across the street from this building. It's someone who hosts free community dinners monthly for those in need, who also runs a charity, One Compassion, with his wife, and who can be seen with his kids and other families on the rooftop of his building enjoying town square activities. We're talking about owner of 127 Homes, Reed Smith. And in the final hot seat, it's awesome to have someone who can look at a vacant, deteriorating old government building, complete with a jail cell, weird old elevator, and perhaps was home at one point to a few squatters. And despite all of that, seeing the possibilities of your downtown, someone who can bring to your community amazing historic redevelopment and preservation experience from Goldsboro and other towns. Someone who doesn't see a document filled with details and demands and timelines from a municipality and run the other way. Someone who is willing to come to the table and spend months hashing out the plans that will transform Old Downtown Hall into luxury loft apartments in the heart of our downtown. Please welcome our final panelist, founder of Community Smith, Holton Wilkerson. Butch, we just talked about your walking around downtown. So one, why did you choose to live downtown? Why do you walk around downtown at the crack of dawn and text and tweet about everything you see? But most importantly, what is behind your involvement? What drives you for here?
Let's see, why do I live downtown? I wish I could say that in 1993 when I moved here that I saw what Clayton is today, but it was definitely not what it is today when I moved here in 1993. There was not a lot going on in downtown Clayton, so that part of it, I live downtown, is purely luck. What brought me to downtown were the people. I'd worked with some people who lived in Clayton, and their work ethic, hard work, their friendliness brought me here. And the more people that I met, I realized that people were just that way. They were all friendly. They all were inviting, wanting you to get involved, inviting you to become in civic groups, church groups, athletics. So that's what got me involved, is other people, that friendliness. And I still think to today, I go back to those original folks from Clayton, like James and Reed, who are welcoming to me. And then in turn, I tried to do that same thing. And I still think you see that. Can you hear me? Okay. Oh, so I moved from this larger town to the west of us. It's called Raleigh. I was actually looking for a cheaper place to live. If we're going to have full disclosure here, that's why I was looking to move here. So, yeah, so that's where I moved from. Like so many people are today moving from Wake County here. I think that's our biggest, population move is coming from Wake County. But anyway, it was the people, that got me involved. And once I got involved, we tried to extend it. And I think you still see that today, is you have people who are here that welcome the newcomers to Clayton. And the opportunity is here to get involved from day one. If you want to get involved in day one, it's here. If you choose to not get involved, that's fine too. There's plenty to do. Why do I walk at 5 in the morning? I told my wife I wasn't going to say this, but she kicks me out of the house at 5 in the morning. But no, it's just something, I get up, I walk, I have several friends that we walk with. And as you're walking, as Scotty said, you see things that you don't see when you're driving by in a car. So as a council person and engineer, sometimes I text early in the morning to say, hey, why is this water valve leaking? Or why is this building, why are they doing this in front of this building? So I do tend to text some. Now I text our new town manager sitting up in there in the balcony. I try not to do it too late, but it's just something when you take pride in something, you want to see it fixed, you want to see it right. So that's kind of why I'm involved. Is I want to see Clayton be as good as it can be. And what was the last part of the?
Basically, what is your drive? What's driving you to be involved in so much that we have in Clayton?
Well, again, it goes back to people. I love seeing people succeed. If they want to do something, some of us went on the tour of the brewery and then the distillery, and you saw people that had a vision and a dream, and see them follow it through. You got James and Reed and Holton here who've done just that. We've got our own DDA coordinator, Caitlin Russo, who's born and raised in Clayton, went away to school and is now back and is our downtown development coordinator. To me, that's a success. When I first moved here in '93, I don't think there were many kids graduating Clayton High School who ever intended to come back home. I have all 5 of my children are within 10 minutes of downtown Clayton where I live. So to me, that's the success story that I want to see, is children that are raised here being able to come back here, open a business here, open a thriving business here, and raise their families here. So that's really what it's all about for me.
That's excellent. And gentlemen, at any time, you're welcome to interject what you would like to say, especially the 3 on the end here who are from Clayton. If you have any words of wisdom of why you stayed, why you've continued to be here. What's driving you to stay?
Well, first, I can attest that he does walk early in the morning. Sometimes I've hit him driving to work, almost hit him.
I'm a big target. I don't know why. It's the problem.
Staying in Clayton, being born and raised, why not? I mean, it's a great town, especially with great people. The experience to be able to have a business here, especially on Main Street, and provide that economic benefit for the town, which you could have it anywhere. But being right on Main Street, right across from Town Square, being able to walk building permits over to Town Hall, I mean, that's a dream. Being able to walk down to have lunch and take employees out for lunch and just be all in one area, wouldn't have it anywhere else. A chance to do life and to work all right in the same spot.
And for me, and I imagine a lot of people out here are probably in the same position, is I was raised downtown, so I really don't know anything else. My family's been here for generations, and I literally was raised between Highway 70 and Main Street. So when I learned how to ride my bicycle and my mom would let me go a few blocks, I would be heading towards Main Street. So being downtown has just always been in my blood, and I've never really thought about living anywhere else besides right here. And went to school at NC State and commuted back and forth every day. So I'm just a Clayton boy and always will be.
Thank you. So we heard about Butch's drive and his vision. So Dave, I'm going to hit you up with this question. From a government perspective, how do you make what he would like to have happen? And do you don't have an unlimited budget. You have the strict rules on what can be built where and allowed when, time, and there, and how much parking a new business would need. How do you make it happen? How do you make it happen for a particular project that we've seen in the last few years?
The answer is clearly strategic partnerships. I couldn't have done the job that I did here without partners like James and Reed and Butch. You need to reach out to your development community, the people, the movers, the shakers in your community that are doing things or want to do things. Without them, things just don't move. You have to also move obstacles out of their way. In your downtown, I don't know how many are downtown folks and how many are actual planners in planning departments. Raise your hands if you're planners. Okay, I'll assume that the rest of you are downtown folks. You need to talk to your planners. You need to get your planners to look at their downtown code, your downtown code, and modify your downtown code to provide protections for the things that you want to protect and incentives for the things that you want to achieve. And without that, without changing your parking standards, you can't have the same parking standards in your downtown as you have out on your highway. You need to adjust those. So working with the downtown community, development community, hearing what they want to do and trying to help them achieve their goals. Without that, you just can't you can't move things forward.
Gentlemen, can you relate any of your experiences with working in conjunction with Dave and his department? I mean, clean ones,
Let me
please.
take a sip of water.
That would help express the point that Dave was bringing out in response to, you know, looking at that code, remodeling an area to make some obstacles not be in your pathway?
I think the biggest thing, and of course, we don't have it all figured out, we're just doing the best we can. But if we have had success, and I think we have, the reason is the formula that is on display is that it takes each part. It takes a willing staff to hear our crazy ideas and to, you know, give feedback. It takes a willing council to see the vision, to, you know, interpret and to support. But it also takes willing private business owners to take that feedback and, you know, have a reasonable mind. We've turned in plans to staff and they've looked at them and said, and we're like, why? And then they go through it, and then the key is to have an open mind to why and how to make it better. And then, you know, we've even completely retweaked submittals and resubmitted. It takes that formula at all stages to have that success. The biggest piece that I think has yielded to the success is to be able to disagree and still be friends. I mean, we're great friends. We text, we joke, we cut up, and we've had some knockdown drag-outs. Dave and I have gone at it in front of planning board over various items, but we can disagree and still be friends because it's all for the betterment of the town. And that's key, to not take it personal, to not, you know, think everyone has everybody's best interest at heart, because they do, at least here. And that formula allows for products and projects to get better as they go through the process, which, you know, is what it's intended for, and for collaboration at all levels, private, staff, and council, to where you get to the finished product where you need to be.
You did a great job, Reed. That was an excellent explanation. Whenever I come to Dave with my thoughts and visions on projects, I come with like a blurry vision. And I say, this is my idea. What do you think about it?
Does it start with, hey, Bo?
It does start with, hey, Bo. Hey, Bo, what do you think about this? So, hey, Bo, what do you think about this? And what do you think about this? And what do you think about this? And really, the town's your partner. And I've told Dave this before. And it's true, because sometimes the developer might not make money for years, but the town is making money day one with taxes and sales tax and fees, and we're a partner, you know, and they want us to succeed, we want to succeed, and we've got to take their input, and they've got to also take our input, and I think that we work very well back and forth together. But having that vision to where it's blurry at first and it comes into focus as you work through, not only with town staff, but also with your architects and your engineers, to really bring something that everybody has ownership in, and it's the best finished product. Because there's been some times where I've been very, like, it needs to be this way, it needs to be this way, it needs to be this way, and Dave said, no, it's not gonna be that way. And I finally give in, I'm like, okay, you were right, but I want you to tell me when I'm right too, and you have, you know? So there's been some times where he said, okay, I agree with you, but more than not, it's most of the time him digging his heels in and me agreeing with him. So.
Well, I just want to add, and I hope you all get a chance to visit it. Before this conference, Reed, back in August, Reed came to me with a plan for the paper company building, which is across from, I hope you guys get a chance to see it if you haven't, Main Street in Town Square. A new restaurant, which is going to be called Ingredient of Clayton, and a coffee house. And he had his architects and his designers draw up this beautiful plan that I actually shared with Liz and the Main Street folks, because I was so excited about it and the changes that they were going to make to that block. And I pretty much begged Reed to fast track the coffee shop, and the coffee shop opened last Friday. He accomplished that in 60 days, a shell of a building to a coffee shop. And that's...
Thank you.
And it didn't all go smoothly. There were some bumps in the road, some building code issues we needed to deal with, but you need to be able to sit down and work with the dreamers like Reed who can make stuff happen and make it happen.
Yeah, even with the stress of conference and staff and trying to get a CO, even down to last minute things. And the inspections department here, and Rich and his crew, they do a great job as well. Very common sense approach to building code, able to disagree and still be friends, but also get what needed to be done for CO. So it all works out for the betterment of the community.
Great response, and I like the interaction that you two and all three of you are having with how you've worked so well to get where we're at now.
We're gonna hug later.
No, we're not.
I was going to ask you about that, but I didn't want to do it in front since you opened it up. So I'm going to shift over to James here because I'm not picking on that blurred vision in this question that you stated about, but you've had a very unique perspective in this town because you come from being a councilman to being a business person trying to make a living here. You've helped spark a whole new nightlife in Clayton by gutting a Main Street building and helping open Revival 1869, a jazz-infused whiskey and cocktail lounge named for the year our town was founded. So I'm not picking at the blurred vision thing you were talking about. Mm-hmm. But how have you made it work in this town?
I've not been afraid to fail. And I don't look at failure. Failure is just an opportunity. And so far, knock on wood, I've been blessed by my visions coming to reality. And they've been successful. But I don't let the thought of failure guide. I let the thought of doing the best possible project. If we do the best possible job on our project, and Reed totally agrees with me on this, because you can see it by the quality of project he does, is you put your best foot forward and do everything you can with your buildings and your concept to where it can succeed. It will more than likely succeed. That's what we've seen. Revival's getting ready to have its first year anniversary next week, and every month they're improving on their sales and just getting busier and busier. And we didn't stop. We just said, hey, this is a great idea. Let's implement it. This is a better way of exposing this brick wall, or whatever we ran into. We tried to do it with as high quality as we could, and it's proved successful. So not being afraid to fail. And also, yesterday I was at Manning's, which is a local restaurant downtown, and I've been raised here. I'm almost 49 years old, and I looked around and I knew two people in there. And I said, okay, to myself, where are these people from? What do they want? So you can't say just because it didn't work 10 years ago doesn't mean it can't work today, and it won't work for the next 10 years. So you really got to put yourself outside of the box and say, what does the community need today, not necessarily what historically has the community needed, or just push yourself.
So how far do you think that you're looking in the future?
I'm looking beyond myself. I try to look 30, 50 years in the future and say, what can it be? And why can it? And I challenge Dave and say, what's in the code? Well, why is it in the code? Why is it really there? Is it something that we need to talk about? And is it something that needs to be changed? And just challenging conventional wisdom. I know he loves it when I come in and do that to him. But just, pushing the envelope. And, my mom actually, and Caitlin told me I ought to say this because it's the God's honest truth. I didn't tell her anything about Revival 1869. We'd bought two buildings on Main Street because they needed to be loved. And there was an opportunity there. I went in and competed to purchase the buildings. And I'd been talking with Mike and Malia, who are the owners of Revival 1869, and it was just a concept at that time. And we'd been looking at multiple properties downtown. And I brought them in. They said, yes, this space works. We got a vision. I called my mom and told her that we were going to put a whiskey bar downtown. And she was like, y'all going to serve alcohol? Y'all going to serve alcohol? Oh, my God. Y'all going to serve. So I'm like, Mom, it's okay. It's legal now. It's legal. It's okay. We're not doing anything illegal. And she's still not been in it, but she has told me it looks good, and she's proud of me. But it took many, many, many months after it was finished for her to get there.
So she thought you were going to be a bootlegger, is what
she basically did, yeah.
Well, It's not a coincidence that Reed, we've put you next to James, because we know that you love your hometown as much as James does. Help our audience understand why you would take on thinking you could move your real estate business, move employees from a successful real estate market business from the big city of Raleigh, reverse their commute, and convince everyone to come to a small town and an old building on Main Street. I mean, people have to be asking why, and what about the downtown made you choose to be right here?
Sure. So I think the question you just asked, James, is relevant, is kind of what the future is, and he said, looking past himself, but it was for us, we see the future is now. And I think a lot of the things that we're doing with the building and the amenities, revival, because we view them as amenities, revival, the coffee shop, Vincent's Pub, those things are now. And so being able to create those amenities, I think it's also fair to point out that with the real estate businesses, I mean, we build and deliver 200 rooftops a year for homeowners here around town. So it's critical that they have a vibrant downtown to be able to go and do life and to shop and all that. And we for sure don't want them out on the big box highway and stuff like that. We want them on Main Street. So for us, it's a lot of passion in these projects. Not only amenities for our homeowners, our employees, the citizens of the town. And so for us, the future is now. When we go through designing the coffee shop, I mean, I think, well, what is it like now for me to be here with my kids and not wanting them to run in the street and wanting to be able to do emails while they're there, and talking with employees and homeowners and saying, what would you like in a coffee shop or in a nightlife, and taking that feedback and then trying to produce it so that they can do life here now, and that can then spur on the next development that will be past us. So when it came time to convince our partner company, DACNO, to come in with the paper company as well as our real estate business, I mean, it was a no-brainer. A lot of the employees lived in Johnson County. We're commuting to Raleigh. The commute to Raleigh now is getting harder and harder as traffic builds up. And the smaller town life, especially with a lot of the real estate opportunities we're able to provide, which is affordable housing on more land, not stuck up right next to someone, is appealing for a lot of the younger generation. I think a lot of you were on our tour of the paper company we just had right before here, and I'm not sure if you noticed, but our average age of employee, just because it just naturally happens, I think is 35 to 38. It's a different generation of tech, because it is very tech focused, very millennial focused, and they love the small town, organic, not on top of each other, walk to lunch type lifestyle. So honestly, it was an easy sell.
Well, I want to add to that. Reed isn't really talking about some of the other things that happened, but the paper company building wasn't for sale. They approached the owners of the paper company building to buy it. 20,000 square foot building, hadn't been renovated maybe ever, and they had 3 employees. So 3 employees in 20,000 square feet. Reed came in with James, purchased that building. I think there's 60 employees.
Day one, we're approaching 90.
There you go. 90 employees instead of 3, plus a $2 million renovation of an existing historic building. So thank you again.
We hear about these projects, and I've been working here now for 5 years, and I've seen the expansion of Clayton a lot faster than I ever thought it would be, and what I heard what could be. And it seems like it could be visioned overnight, but how long do you think it really has taken? 10 years, 15, Butch?
So if I can take that for all you elected officials out here, and I know I was talking, I think, with Evan with Pilot Mountain, who's been on the commission there for a year and a half, and I've been 14 here. The secret sauce is there is none. We invested in $500,000 in a gravel parking lot. This main feature was Friday night fights there when I first came here. A lot of criticism for the council taking that position, and why would you spend money on a parking lot? You're sitting in the next one. I mean, a dilapidated building that the school system couldn't use anymore was falling in, and we decided then rather than move the town operations outside on Highway 70 or beyond, that we were committed to leaving it here and building it here. So I think that laid the groundwork. We made other investments in, what was the playground for the school that was here at Town Square, Horn Square, and we laid those investments. We put some facade grants, little things in place, but, it wasn't the town that did anything to make it happen. And James was on the council, and just a little background on him. He's a ready, shoot, aim kind of guy. And so on the council, I give him a lot of credit for the vision that he had even back then in 97, I guess, in 99 when I got on the council. So it's these guys who we kind of set the table, we kind of set the table for things to happen and hope that those seeds germinate. And when you've got some young people come in, and I don't say it's all young people, but people who see the vision and want to invest, and the council and the staff are willing to listen to what seems like crazy ideas, at the time. And so they come in and they can make it happen. As you as an elected official, I hate to tell you, you can't make these guys decide to invest in downtown on a whim. Otherwise, this would have happened many years ago. So the credit goes, I guess, some to the council for setting the stage and being willing to invest in it. And then for somebody else to come in with the staff, and then the actual developers with the people with the money and join in that, and even expand a vision beyond whatever it was that the council had, because I'm an engineer, not very creative, but I know a good idea when I hear one most of the time. And when these guys bring it, we try to figure out how to make it happen.
One thing I'd like to add is no addition's ever too small. Because when I sit back and I think about Clayton, one of my fondest memories, or first memories, is me walking my dog in the Christmas parade in the early 70s. And was the seed, and the reason why I'm sitting here today and love downtown so much, because of that one experience. I've been involved with the Clayton's Harvest Festival for the last 20 plus years, and I was walking down the street just with a volunteer shirt on one day. The people didn't know who I was. I just overheard them talking. It was a mom and a dad with 2 kids, and the little boy said, "Wow, why haven't we been here before? I love this place," And, he might be the president of the DDA 15 years from now. So, you just have to keep going forward and improving. And Dave's going to laugh at me, but I say it's prove and improve. If you've got a vision, try to prove that vision, and then when you prove it, improve on it. And just keep moving forward, and you never know what little things are going to grow into a big, beautiful building one day, or a remodeled auditorium.
Exactly. Thank you. Well, Holden, not to make you feel like you're just sitting up here as I can, so.
I like listening to these guys talk.
The town put on a request for some of you that maybe did not take the tours with us and you go to Old Town Hall. There was a proposal put out to reinvest into the Old Town Hall, and it's just down the block from us, and you responded. There are many people in our audience who will want to understand why you were willing and how you worked with the town to make that a workable project. They wanted guarantees. You were going to do something the community supported with a beloved building. Surely you and your investors wanted to guarantees it would be successful. So can you tell us more about the developer's agreement and how that project is now underway as we speak?
Certainly. First, something that really draws us into a particular municipality is vision and creative leadership and staff, which is clearly present here. We were able to really work shoulder to shoulder with Dave, the leadership, with the town, his colleagues, and craft a very unique set of circumstances to, so one thing I was thinking about when these guys were talking about something in particular was that you have to have the tools to spur development, but then you actually have to utilize them. And then sometimes you have to figure out creative ways to sort of blend them together. And that's really what we ended up with our development agreement for the town hall, is a very sort of unique way. And all of these public-private partnerships that I've been a part of and that I'm aware of, and probably just all of them in general, are very unique. All of them are different in their own way. But if you don't have at the core of it a group of people who are talented, creative, and have the vision from the get-go, which is something that I clearly really got when I, the very first few times I came to Clayton in general, and then saw an opportunity with this building where there was something lacking. in the town as far as, and there was clearly a lot of population growth. There were a lot of people moving here, whether it was buying or renting, but there wasn't something that was unique. There wasn't something that was just off Main Street. There wasn't something that, it felt like there was something lacking, that there was something that people would appreciate about something similar to Nash Street Lofts that we did in Wilson, for instance. And the more that we got feedback from the community and from the municipality, it just seemed like it was going to be a great blend of all those things.
So let's separate the agreement part of it for a moment and look at what does it mean to you personally to save a building like that? To keep it from being torn down?
It means the opportunity to blend the unique aspects of and the history of not only the building, but the role that it's played in the community with modern amenities, and to breathe new life into it. People use the term adaptive reuse a lot, and I'm big into historic preservation as well, so that's certainly a driving factor. But it's extremely satisfying to be able to, at the end of the day, see new life having been breathed into a structure like that is deserving of attention. James said, I don't know what you said, needed some love or whatever, and I kind of see buildings like that in the same way, that that building has more to be done with it. It can give back more to the community, and it should, and then it's a matter of finding the right tools and the ability to do it.
Well, we're very happy that you stepped up. I'm glad to see that this building's not going to be torn down, and we thank you for jumping into it.
Absolutely, thank you.
This question should be probably our last one, but I'd like for all of you to chime in, if you don't mind. Because there are people in the audience right now who desperately want to see the same kind of projects in their community. They want to spark change, right? What is your biggest piece of advice for them on how to do that from your perspective? I know you've brought a lot about that out, but what advice would you give them going forward from where you are? Reed, you can start.
Yes, it's not just one thing. It takes, as we've said, it takes the private sector with a willingness to invest, and I would encourage you to seek those people out, even if the visions seem crazy, or you just never know, and to seek those opportunities out with a staff that's willing to work with them, willing to listen, willing to give feedback, willing to compromise where they can. And then a government board or council that is also open to that, and will give approvals and lend compromises when they can, because you can have a great staff and a great council, but if nobody wants to do anything, there will be no projects. You can have a great private investment, but without a great staff and a council that always says no, you can't get anything approved. So it's got to be a formula of all of that for success. And I can tell you, momentum breeds momentum. It's been one project after another, then there's two, and as you can see, whether it be Revival or the brewery, the distillery, everybody sees it, and momentum breeds momentum. So you can even start small. One at a time. People will see, people will be attracted to it, the energy will be contagious, and then momentum will breed even more momentum.
Butch?
So I would go back to, for elected officials, I would say patience. Again, as sometimes you make decisions that get a lot of questions asked about it, and a lot of negative comments about it, but it is patience and sticking with that vision. But it's also identifying the folks who have an even bigger vision and to follow through, James, Reed, and Holton, there to identify those and work with them. But it's also hiring the staff. And when you have a town manager who has that same vision, the planning director, economic development coordinator now, down to the staff level who all share that same vision, it makes it easy. Easy is not the right word. It's not easy. It helps to get that along the way. But again, it goes back to patience and knowing and trusting that your decisions you make are going to pay off at some point, hopefully sooner than later. And like I said, I remember in the 90s, when we made some of these decisions, and in the last 4 years, the growth that we've seen going from one restaurant on Main Street to 3, now maybe 4, not counting, so 5 already now, the choices. And then again, for me, I just enjoy seeing the number of young folks who have their family and are walking down Main Street, going to the library, to the park, to get something to eat, to church. It's great to see those, and I'm getting so old now, anybody younger than me is a millennial. So to see those guys, see those folks out walking and doing their business and working. We've got folks who live and work in downtown. So to me, that's the best part of it. So.
Dave, you have anything to add to that?
I would say maybe 2 things for downtown folks. One is get your planning department to help them help you get them out of your way. If the first thing you hear when somebody wants to come and renovate a building downtown is you're going to need a variance for parking, you're going to need a variance for building setbacks, you're going to need a height variance, then there's probably something wrong with your downtown regulations. You probably need to take a look at that and loosen them up to a point where development can actually happen in your downtown. I would also say that providing incentives helps too. When Bruce Neglin was the downtown development coordinator for the Town of Clayton, he developed some incentives, facade grant program and Clayton Downtown Redevelopment Incentive Grants. And having something to give business owners to improve the look of their space or to help them renovate a building is important to them, and they see that you're putting something in to help them succeed. It also doesn't hurt that when you do that it shames the other business owners to want to do something nicer with their building. We have a couple of business owners downtown that have more of a millennial view, and they really want to have extended hours and be open late. I know all of us struggle with downtown businesses that want to not open one day a week, or they want to close at 5. Trying to push the envelope there and get them to actually open up and stay open, especially when you have 500 people downtown, is really important. So I think those things, those are some takeaways that I would take.
And the towns can really help developers downtown if you have somebody that's a derelict property owner, not letting them be derelict and really giving them a hard time about trying to make their buildings look better and cut their grass and staying on them. And if you have derelict property owners, we've seen this in the past, pick up the phone call and say, hey, do you want to sell that building? Do you want to, can we try to put you with somebody that wants to do something downtown? And you never know where 2 things might come together that are seemingly unrelated that helps build momentum, because I've seen that all over downtown, where something you might not think matters much, but like revival helping be part of the reason why Reed's employees want to be downtown so they can go get a drink after work. I'd have never thought about that 2 years ago as we were working on the projects. But seemingly unrelated things build that momentum, and that's why you need to support it. If it makes sense, I would say support it, because it will all come back and build that momentum to where you want to be and where your town needs to grow.
We have time maybe for a few questions if you have any out there in the audience.
Butch said patience the other day, or excuse me.
Oh, I was going to throw my hands up. I didn't.
Butch said patience, and it truly is being patient. There's one little block on Main Street where I think 4 years ago, me and a partner bought one house, and then we made everybody aware that hey, we have got interest in this street long term. So now there's 7 properties that we were trying to accumulate, and we've got 5, and it's taken 4 years. So and I hate to say it, we're keeping our properties as nice as we can, but we can't afford to spend a lot of money upgrading a property whenever your end game is to tear it down and to build something that's newer, that is more intensive use, which is going to be good for downtown. Because I've got a dream. If you look at our downtown now, there's a big residential section between where most of our core downtown is and Highway 70, and I've been focusing a lot on that area. And you just got to be patient and be in front of them and be there. Every chance you get to make contact with them and send them letters and sometimes you have to overpay for stuff, but the long-term vision, you can't necessarily say, I want this thing to be able to make money coming out of the gate. If it breaks even coming out of the gate, that's the way I look at it. Hopefully 5 years from now, when Main Street's better and more attractive and can demand higher rents, which our Main Street, if you look at a 10-year period, our rents have gone up exponentially. So, a project that wouldn't have made sense in 2008 makes sense in 2018. But sometimes you just have to step out and not be afraid of that failure or possible failure and believe in your dreams.
James will just go up to him and say, "Hey, Bo, I just need to tell you what this could look like," and they're like, "Okay." That's right. For just adding on that, when we acquired the paper company, that was not for sale, and Mr. Byron had no intentions of selling. He was fine. He said, "I'm a couple ways away from retiring, not ready," but you just have to sell them on what it could be. It obviously has to be in their economic best interest, which it was. And if they don't want to sell, they won't sell. But in the event that you can sell the vision and that this building could extend past you into the next generation, into, employment for a lot of people, and you do the best job selling the vision of what it could be, sometimes you get it, sometimes you don't. Number one is jobs. Shelter or homes or places to eat are nothing more than where jobs go to sleep. So, jobs are important. We've been very fortunate to have that here in Clayton with the industrial park and the proximity to Raleigh. We're very blessed to have that, but that's huge, especially with the amount of jobs that are here in downtown. As Butch pointed out, we have a lot of people who live and work here downtown, so you've got customers. Then a strong employee base, which excited to bring employees to downtown, as well as the other businesses also manufacture customers for these businesses.
And you've got to look at the residential component, the restaurant or food service component. You need to look at not just retail, because I think that everything kind of bleeds off itself. So if you look at during the day, Revival's not open for breakfast. Not many people want to drink, a craft cocktail for breakfast. But they're open, at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and they're active till 11 o'clock at night. But then we've got some retails that, are opening up at 9 and closing at 5. We've got office space. I've got an office space on Main Street that brings a lot of people downtown, but we're basically like 10 to 6, and then we have some classroom hours where we're doing some training, real estate training, and it's being a diverse economy too, and not just say I want to be retail from 9 to 5. There needs to be life from 8 o'clock in the morning till as late as your town council will let you have stuff going on at night.
Also add to that, investment by the municipality. If the municipality does not have the confidence in their own downtown and find ways, whether it's infrastructure, whether it's buying buildings and then doing RFPs like the town of Clayton here owned that building, but if they're not leading by example, then how can you expect someone to come into your downtown and spend the time and the money and the energy and the blood, sweat, and tears to do these types of projects? That just makes a huge difference.
Amen to that, because of the council, and I have to say I was on the council that voted to do this building, so I'm proud of that. But if the council had chosen to go out to the other side of Highway 70 and left downtown, I don't think that we would be here. I think that this building and the commitment that the town council that originally voted to do this project made, in part, is one of the things that has brought Clayton to where it is today, because I don't think that we would necessarily have been here because that commitment wouldn't have been here, and you would have had the flight. One of the reasons why Reed said he wanted to be across the street and do a $2 million renovation on a 20,000 square foot building is he wanted to be able to walk over to town hall and get permits. He wanted to be able to walk over here and talk to the planning director. And if you have to get on a 4-lane highway, to do that, that's not going to be supporting your downtowns.
I would just agree that if you want to do things, you want people to come to your downtown, you have to have programs in your downtown. Part of the reason Reed liked the paper company building was because we had the concert series and movie nights in the square that's directly across from there. the Christmas Village and tree lighting ceremony, all the parade, Christmas parade. As James mentioned, it kept him alive and interested in downtown since he was a child. Having those and continuing those has been a big success for us in downtown. I do agree, our council is very supportive of our programs. Town Hall is downtown, our brand new police station is downtown, and before I got here, when the post office needed to move from its downtown location, they kept it in downtown. It's just over on Center Street, but it's still in the downtown area. So they kept a lot of things in downtown that people want to come to, our government services that people will need. Our library is right across the street from us right now. So having reasons for your citizens to come downtown is important.
The other thing with that is to work with the private sector to figure out what adds value to them so that they will participate in sponsorships. There's not much that happens in downtown that Hometown Realty or 127 Homes isn't a sponsor for, because they're on cool stuff. I mean, it's cool things for our employees and homeowners to come do, and therefore, I mean, we get it behind them full force. And so but it's got to have value. I mean, if we were going to sponsor something that didn't have value, we wouldn't do it. But the concert series and everything we've talked about are programs that make a difference for the residents and citizens in the community.
Well, gentlemen, our time is coming to an end here. I want to thank you, all five of you, for coming up here and spending your time and sharing your experiences. We're very, very happy to have you and your commitment here in Clayton. So thank you for your time, and ladies and gentlemen, thank you.
Thanks, John.